Hi, so welcome back to need assessment section. Thank you for taking this a little insight before once we discussed about why TNA training need assessment, learning and development assessment is always required. So now we are able to move on and basically jump a bit deeper into the ocean of this needs assessment and how to do that and why it's anyway required. So, in this session, I'll be discussing about that. So, what is a need assessment? In my previous session, I was emphasizing a lot on the whole process, cyclic process of training evaluation and why we need to do that. So, here and there, we have been finding some evidence that need assessment or a training need assessment is something where a learning and development professional would actually be focusing upon. And why is that? So let's take a quick look. Because need assessment refers to the process used to determine whether training is necessary. So training needs assessment is first question or answering, or you as a learning and development professional, the first question you're answering to yourself and then basically advocating is that whether the training is needed or not. And then where would you take it further? Two solutions. One is in house training, one is outsourced training. In both cases, again, you will look at it says because needs assessment is the first step in the instructional design. So, instructional design is actually the training content. The training, what the training is about, and how effective that training is. So you see, all your need assessment and establishing the need, and once you reach up to a point that my IT professional or the bank teller needs to learn how to serve the customer or how to log in the customer complaints. So what kind of a training comes in your mind then? How would you visualize that? What are the customer complaints are like? What are the mostly first-hand customer complaints about? The delays, the bounce checks, or the credit queries, the login queries, all those sorts of queries. What are typically a bank teller or a bank representative everyday faces. So, what kind of a training then you will design for them, or what kind of a training you will send out your people to? This is what your assessment is about, because you have identified the need that lots of complaints are coming in and we are not addressing it, and the performance is going down, meaning that we are losing some customers. So a lot of data you have achieved or availed or investigated, researched about, and then you are now thinking that okay, maybe my bank employees or the bank tellers or the bank front end staff or the front desk staff is unable to address these queries adequately. And then you will remember that last year we spent so many millions of dollars to procure a complaint handling software. So where is the outcome? Why these people or the individual are unable to process these complaints or queries based upon what this system or technology can help us with? So what would you do? You will first of all, if you are providing an in-house training, first of all you will provide a training for using that software to its ultimate level. And you need to make sure that why people are unable to understand the actual facilities or the support available through the software. Same, you will look at the training provider. If you are outsourcing it, you will ask the training provider, have you ever provided any training specific to this problematic area, and gather that evidence. So I'll be talking a little bit more in detail about that here and there, so bear with me. But let's move on that why do a need assessment is required. So I've already mentioned a few requirements because you have to basically establish that whether training is necessary or not. But let's look what the theory suggests. It says to make sure we are applying the right solution to the problem. So you see, For the software, there are many options available. In a bakery example, there are many solutions available that a baker can go out and they can learn how to make a good cake, or how to basically make the cake look really fancy. But what about the taste of the cake? What about the allergy requirements? What about the health and safety requirements? What about the customer specific complaints? What you have been receiving all those previous years or previous months, previous quarters? Is it really addressing that? Is it providing? Is this training solution is actually providing this further solution or training in that context or not? Next is to identify what learning will be accomplished. So, what learning? A very specific one word statement should be achieved, that the bank teller would be able to log in the complaints effectively. The IT expert would be able to develop the Python codes effectively for a finance firm. The software procured by the bank would be used by front end desk for logging in the complaints effectively. So these are a few statements what you will be thinking about, and this would be accomplished through a planned training. And where would you look at? You will look at the instructional design in-house, or whatever training provider is providing it. You will look at that instructional design, and there's where your skills would matter. That are you relating them? Are you relating them with a solution or not? Next is to identify what changes in the behavior and performances are expected. Obviously, we want ultimate changes, ultimate performance improvement, behavior improvement. So, choosing the right solution is really important. And this all comes or encompasses or remains under the umbrella of need assessment. So you see, need assessment, that's why the need assessment is the biggest part of learning and development professionals' life and their own competency development. That's why we have been so much emphasizing on their own competency development, and then people competency development, and then aligning it. So these are the reasons now. So last thing is, last not the least, to determine the expected economic cost and benefit. So through this training and through this solution provision, what has happened? Did you manage to retain customers? As a teacher, if you have sent someone for a training to provide the vocational training to some group of students, did you manage to retain those students? In the banking example, did you manage to retain some customers who had severe complaints about not getting response from their queries and questions? In a baking example, you will be looking at those baker's expertise, that now he is providing some really occasional oriented birthday cakes, or the event cakes, wedding cakes, or not. If and where would be the evidence? Evidence would be the number of customers increased after this training, or number of the customers lost after sending this individual for a certain training. That's one very small or minute example of it. A lot goes in the background, but yes, this is where you should be looking at, and your psychological approach and your own professional approach should be making you judgmental enough to find out that whether this worked or not. So have you devised any strategies? Have you devised any thoughts process on that? That in my need assessment process, what I missed or not? And as an individual or as an expert, it's up to you. Whatever works for you, whatever strategy works for you, you can adopt it. But your whole focus should be identifying whether it's working or not. Is it a solution achieved or not? Competency is achieved or not? Behavior is achieved or not? Cost benefits achieved or not? All those sorts of things. So you will be gathering it. Next thing is continuation of the same need assessment process. What you do. So because I mentioned that it's a process, so what you do in this process? First of all, conduct task analysis and compile a task inventory. And as I just mentioned, that you will start focusing upon the tasks what you need to set for yourself and for the people, for an individual or for a group of people you're sending out for training. Have you set up some tasks for them in terms of their training needs? So first question was whether they need a training. Now that has been established. They need a training. So you're sending them out for a training. So have you set up some tasks, some time frames, and all those sorts of things? Good organizations always have a training matrix available to them. So in this training matrix, you list all those tasks. You make an inventory of those tasks. Is it an instructional design? Who is providing the training? What are the training content? What are the training outcomes which has been shared with us? Have we evaluated them? Have we investigated them? Have we justified those training provisions against any outcomes which achieved through looking at other factors like competitive businesses who are growing enough because their training regime is really efficient. Many or a lot of things goes in that. That's why we teach learning and development even at the degree level. You see, a, a lot of psychology goes in that. But for you as a professional, I think just evaluating or establishing this inventory and the expectations from a training should be sufficient enough for you. And this will start revealing any gaps in your training provisions previously and recently. In terms of revenue, you can relate it with the revenue, you can relate it with the people retentions, job retentions, people progression. Many things goes in that context. This is what the gap analysis is about. Select which tasks will be addressed. So in the training need assessment, you will think the task number one is who will be the training provider, where will be the people going for this training. Is it an in-house training or we are relieving people to go out and attend a weekday long training or a one-day long training? That's a task inventory, and some cost is associated with that as well. So you see, a lot of budgeting, costing, benefit realization, these sorts of activities are embedded in this process. Then you will determine performance measures for the trained tasks or the training task. It should be. Yes, once the people come back after training, and now you are putting them back in their job role, and there should be some measures available that okay, how I'm gonna judge them. You can't really be a monitor to them and breathing on their neck all day just to find out how good they are doing their job like the way they used to be. Give it some time, give it some parameters, give it some other external factors in terms of the speed of query handling, in terms of speed of making good cakes, in terms of speed of developing codes and submitting those reports to the senior management and getting the feedback from their line managers, supervisors, or whoever is responsible for those individuals. The training method and estimating the training cost is something which anyway makes sense, but obviously it's under the training need assessment process. So you would be knowing about your budget, you would be knowing about what kind of a training I'm providing. Is it an online training, offline training, on-site training, off-site training? What kind of logistic arrangement I'll have to provide. So these are a few things which goes into that. My other courses are kind of talking about training and development event arrangement. So feel free to take a look at those training courses as well and enroll to them. Those are focused on those areas. But here we are looking at TNA. So TNA is all about training need assessment. Need is the keyword. So I will again stop here for you to adjust and digest all this information, and then I'll join you in the next session. So thank you.